The description of angels in the Bible is so different from the images we usually have in mind that many Christians haven't even realized that they're rereading about angels when they read certain passages. What if the angels we imagine with white wings and a harp singing in the sky are nothing more than a caricature of what these beings really are? Let's explore this idea together. What we usually think of when we think of angels. When we usually think of angels, our minds usually evoke images of serene figures with white wings, golden halos, and angelic faces. This representation, popularized by Renaissance art and popular culture, is deeply rooted in our collective imagination. But when we dive into the original descriptions found in the biblical scriptures, we discover a reality completely different and, for many, truly shocking. The Seraphim, fiery six-winged creatures in the book of Isaiah, chapter 6. We find one of the most vivid descriptions of angelic beings. The Seraphim are presented as creatures with 6 wings each, to covering their faces, to covering their feet, and to used for flying. These fiery beings flew around God's throne, continuously crying out, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts." The name seraph comes from the Hebrew word meaning to burn or consume with fire, indicating their fiery and purifying nature. The description suggests beings of immeasurable power, whose very presence was so intense it shook the thresholds of doorways and filled the temple with smoke. Isaiah, upon seeing them, cried out in terror, "Woe is me, I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." The cherubim, guardians, with multiple faces. The cherubim are another type of angelic being that completely defies our modern conceptions. In the book of Ezekiel, these beings are described in extraordinary and unsettling detail. Each cherub had 4 faces, one of a man, one of a lion, one of an ox, and one of an eagle. Their bodies were humanoid, but with 4 wings and feet like the hooves of a calf, shining like polished bronze. Even more striking is the description of their wheels. Each cherub was associated with wheels within wheels, covered with eyes all around. These wheels moved in any direction without turning, and wherever the spirit of the cherubim went, the wheels followed. The image is simultaneously majestic and frightening, representing beings of wisdom and power that defy our understanding. The Opanim, the fiery wheels closely related to the cherubim, are the Opanim, also known as thrones or wheels. Ezekiel describes them as massive circular structures, high and awe-inspiring, completely covered in eyes. These wheels were made of a material resembling beryl or crystal, and they moved in perfect synchronization with the cherubim. The description suggests beings or angelic vehicles that defy our understanding of physics and biology. The countless eyes symbolize absolute knowledge and constant vigilance, while their ability to move in any direction represents total freedom from the physical limitations we know. The function of fear not. A remarkable feature of biblical narratives is that nearly every angelic appearance begins with the phrase "fear not" or some variation. This greeting is not mere courtesy but an absolute necessity. The true appearance of these beings was so extraordinary and terrifying that caused the humans who saw them to immediately fear. When the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary, his first words were, "Do not be afraid, Mary." When angels appeared to the shepherds to announce Christ's birth, the text says they were terribly afraid, and immediately the angel said, "Fear not." This pattern repeats consistently throughout Scripture, indicating that the natural human reaction to the true angelic form was extreme fear. The angelic hierarchies. Scripture suggests a complex hierarchy among angelic beings, each category with specific characteristics and functions. The seraphim seem closest to the divine throne, constantly engaged in worship. The cherubim often appear as guardians, protecting sacred places such as the Garden of Eden. The Opanim seem associated with divine movement and presence. In addition, there are references to archangels such as Michael and Gabriel, who seem to take on more human-like forms, yet still inspire both reverence and fear. Michael is described as a powerful warrior, while Gabriel is often depicted as a messenger with an imposing presence. Transformation in art and culture. The discrepancy between biblical descriptions and our modern portrayals of angels is no accident. In the early centuries of Christianity, Christian art rarely portrayed angels in anthropomorphic form. It was mainly during the Renaissance that artists began to depict them as idealized human figures with wings. This transformation had several motivations. First, the original biblical descriptions were considered difficult to portray artistically and could have been disturbing to the faithful. Second, the influence of Greco-Roman classical art with its depictions of gods and demigods in perfect human forms deeply influenced Christian artists. Third, there was a pastoral need to make the divine more accessible and less frightening to the general population. Angels portrayed as beautiful and comforting beings were far more suitable to decorate churches and inspire devotion than the multifaceted, eye-covered creatures described by Ezekiel. The symbolism behind the descriptions. It is important to understand that the biblical descriptions of angels carry deep theological symbolism. The multiple faces of the cherubim represent different aspects of creation. The man symbolizes humanity and intelligence. The lion represents royalty and courage. The ox symbolizes strength and service, and the eagle represents swiftness and heavenly perspective. The countless eyes of the Opanim symbolize divine omniscience, the ability to see and know all things simultaneously. The 6 wings of the Seraphim have specific meanings. The wings covering the face represent humility before God. Those covering the feet symbolize modesty, and those used for flight represent readiness to serve. Experiences of angelic encounters. The biblical narratives of angelic encounters often describe not only the appearance of these beings, but also the physical and emotional effects they caused in humans. Ezekiel describes how he fell prostrate when seeing angelic visions. Daniel reports that he fell weak when seeing an angelic being, and John, in Revelation, repeatedly falls as though dead before the angels who appear to him. These reactions were not weakness but natural responses of limited beings before the unlimited. The presence of the angels transcended normal human capacity for sensory and emotional processing. The angels themselves often had to touch or speak to humans to restore their strength and ability to communicate. Angels in apocalyptic literature. The book of Revelation presents some of the most intense and detailed descriptions of angelic beings in the entire Bible. John describes angels with the keys of the abyss, angels controlling natural elements such as fire and water, and living beings with characteristics combining human, animal, and supernatural elements. One of the most impressive beings described by John had a face like the sun, feet like pillars of fire, and in his hand a little open scroll. Another angel is described as having a cloud as his garment and a rainbow over his head. These images transcend any attempt at literal representation and point to spiritual realities that defy our three-dimensional comprehension. Final considerations. The reality of biblical angels, as described in the original scriptures, is truly shocking when compared to our cultural expectations. These beings transcend our normal categories of understanding, combining elements that challenge both our imagination and our capacity for visualization. Whether interpreted literally or symbolically, these descriptions invite us to expand our perception of what is possible and sacred. They remind us that the universe may be far more vast, strange, and wonderful than our daily experience suggests. Biblical angels are not the comforting and familiar figures that adorn Christmas cards or decorate cemeteries. They are beings of unimaginable power, incomprehensible wisdom, and a presence that fundamentally transforms those who encounter them. Their true appearance may shock our modern sensibilities, but it also invites us to deeper awe at the complexity and mystery of the spiritual cosmos. This revelation about the true nature of biblical angels challenges us to reconsider our own cultural and perceptual limitations. Perhaps the real lesson is not just about what angels really look like, but about how our own perspective can be expanded to embrace mysteries that transcend our current understanding. When we consider that these descriptions came from people who claim to have had direct experiences with such beings, we are forced to at least consider the possibility that there are dimensions of reality completely beyond our normal experience, and that, in itself, is a truly transformative perspective. I hope this video has brought you enlightenment, and that you've enjoyed this journey through the enigmatic world of biblical angels. Your comments and feedback are extremely valuable to us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Thank you for watching.